All right, now the actual basketball, Mazz. How'd you feel about it?
Not good. Not good. Again, look, I said to you yesterday, and you were right. You said you liked Philly going into the game. I didn't. I like the Celtics. I thought coming off a loss, here you go. So what I would say to them, if I were Missoula or anybody else, I'm putting a stop to this right now. I am putting a stop to this kind of bullcrap right now.
What's this bullcrap?
Losing after you lose one game and then you lose another one?
So
you come off that loss in Minnesota. You come out last night. You stick it to Philly. You're the better team. You're going to lapse back into this malaise and this comatose kind of trance and just walking through the regular season and not giving a crap, because that's what that felt like.
I was going to ask you. You felt they weren't fully engaged?
No, for little bursts they were. They started the game slow. Then they picked it up somewhere about 2 or 3 minutes into the game.
But then that second quarter, they looked dead-legged and half-assed.
Completely went to sleep in the second quarter. And then I would say similarly in the third quarter. And they didn't really wake up until the very end of the game. They made a couple of shots. And so they got lucky that they had a chance to win it. But let's not delude ourselves. That would have been an absolute steal of a game. And if they were to pull it out. And so I looked at the whole thing and I said, this thing was like... This was a relapse. This was them turning back into what they've been in other years, which is, we're just going to, we think we're really great and we're just going to kind of float. And Philly, of all teams, Philly came out and played with some intent. Philly was looking to make some sort of statement that we got rid of that bum Harden. We changed the coach. We brought in a couple of guys who play with some attitude, and we're going to be a different kind of team this year. I don't know what it's going to look like at the end of the year. I presume the Celtics will be better. But if Philly finishes in front of them in the standings somehow, some way, embarrassment. And I would go so far as to say coaching will have been a factor. Because that to me last night was like, wow.
So your scenario to me would be the good news. And I know that sounds weird, but if it's just because you didn't give full effort, then you should be okay. Because ultimately, again, the playoffs, you give full effort, they don't, you're better, you're fine. So if it's just a function of you being not engaged, then that's actually good news. To me, what would scare me if I were a Celtics fan or the Celtics is that actually you weren't bad last night, that we actually played okay. And Missoula believed that. And he said that multiple times. He thought they played good defense on Embiid. He thought they played good defense on Maxey. He thought they played good offense. They just missed shots. He wasn't concerned with their effort. He felt they played well.
Yay!
But that's what would worry me, that they actually weren't half-assed. They actually gave a representative effort, and they still weren't that much better than Philly, or that Philly somehow has gained on them. And this is what I looked at, and I don't know why I got the feeling of this. For the first time, I feel Philly is worthy of a little bit of respect, or I'm respecting them. I am now, for the first time, I'm thinking about Philly. I'm considering making Philly a real threat to you, Milwaukee, to anyone. I feel they might be different. They no longer do they have some bum gumming up the works like James Harden or Ben Simmons or someone like that.
I was going to say bums, plural. Yeah.
They don't have some loser bum in the middle of the thing. Maxey, who I felt had taken a step back early in year 2, feels like, he's coming of age. And now he's like clearly the second guy there. And if he's made a big step to all-star status, all-star quality, Embiid's in his absolute prime. Maxey's coming into his prime. They've cleared the decks of that trash. Nurse obviously knows how to coach. He knows how to coach defense. Mm-hmm. And was it Covington and Batum, those guys that they got back for James Harden, on the wing, does it just fit better there? And do I look at him more like a real threat? I shouldn't, Murray? You think I shouldn't?
Well, no, because of the way that game ended. Because I was with you. I was like, well, this is a better Philly team. And they were killing the Celtics inside. That's where I thought that game was won by Philadelphia last night and how they out-rebounded them with Mazz. I really had no problem with as many threes that were taken. But overall, that the Celtics had a chance to tie that game with 8 seconds remaining, I still look at them, I'm like, nope, they're still institutional losers. That game was over with like 6 minutes to go, but I hung in there because we had action on it. And I'm like, let's just see. And I couldn't believe, I'm like, they're going to blow this because they're still the stupid 76ers.
There was Sixers stuff in there, but it wasn't. There was only. So they were up 15 with like 3 and change left, 14 with like 2 and change left. There were only 2 possessions where I thought they were Sixery, and one was I think it was. I'm forgetting. It begins with an M. The kid who tripped at half court, and Jason Tatum picked it up and went back for a walk-in layup to make it a 4-point game. What's his name?
But that was the one particular.
Okay, so that one, I'm like, all right, that's the Sixers. And then they had an empty possession where they had a shot clock, and Maxey ended up with like
that was horrible.
Air ball 3-pointer.
Melton, are you talking about Melton?
Melton tripped at midcourt, and Tatum just picked it up and walked in for an easy 2, and I think that made it the 4-point game. I said, oh, there's the Sixers. And then they had an empty possession late where Maxey had to chuck up an air ball at the shot clock buzzer and airballed it. And I think that gave you your last possession. So, like, those were Sixery kind of things. Otherwise, I don't know really what they did wrong. You hit some threes. Finally, Jaylen Brown woke up, which we'll get to. Jaylen Brown woke up, hit a couple threes, and
kept turning the ball over.
Well, he did that too earlier. But I'm just talking
19 assists, 17 turnovers so far this season. That's still a problem.
For Jaylen Brown?
Yes.
It's not great.
Yeah.
1-to-1.
Yeah. So I'm just talking about at the end.
But
I mean, were they doing Sixers things at the end? I mean, Embiid had a really tough turnaround shot that I thought was, the key points in the game. So
I just think overall they're still not to be trusted.
Well, the thing that I would worry about is that you weren't all that bad last night. Were you really not all that bad? You better hope it's Mazz's thing, that they weren't fully engaged. They sort of waltzed through it, and they didn't, give full effort, and that's why you lost. Because that's correctable. You give full effort. You beat that bummy Sixers team. But what if you were actually okay last night, and it wasn't good enough? Like that's what would concern me more.